from Sigmund, and I am delighted to be here and participate in this webinar with Singular Payments. As a provider of enterprise software solutions, it's important for Sigmund Software to continue to evolve and expand the product and service offerings to provide our customer base with the latest and greatest in technology and patient engagement tools. As many of you are aware, we've always focused on providing comprehensive end-to-end solutions for our providers. Recently, as folks are aware, the Aura platform really represents our focus on mobility and portability of the product, automation and workflow tools, greater data utilization and decision support, improving care coordination with messaging and more dynamic workflow tools, comprehensive practice management, revenue cycle management, and patient engagement tools as well. The complementary nature of all the departments, staff, and job tasks associated with behavioral health care and addiction treatment providers is incredibly complementary. Improving data collection on the front end provides value to practice managers and finance staff. Availability and portability of the product, along with the automation and workflow tools, add value to every aspect of the organization. And again, as an enterprise software solution, our ability to efficiently and effectively move critical data across the enterprise to improve patient outcomes, experience, compliance, practice management, and revenue cycle management. Today's topic really focuses on all of the above, but specifically on credit card processing and the benefits to extending your reach as a treatment provider, leveraging technology to improve your revenue cycle and your patient engagement dimension as well. Joining us today for the webinar is Matthew Preet, Vice President of Software Development at Sigmund Software. Nina Pioletti, sorry Nina, it's the first time I've said your last name, I'm very, very sorry, who is the Director of Sales at Singular, and Danielle LaFontaine from Singular Payments. Before I go through the agenda, wanted also to talk a little bit about our process, and Matt will take you through that, but Singular has been a wonderful partner, incredibly available, very knowledgeable in this area, and I would encourage everybody, regardless of your level of interest in the feature, to have a conversation with them, simply to learn more about what options exist for you. This may be a longer term initiative, but nonetheless, a conversation with them would certainly be advantageous. So before I pass it over to Matt, today's agenda includes why Sigmund chose to partner with Singular Payments, an overview of the credit card processing functionality from the system by Matt. We also want to encourage everybody to submit questions via the area on the GoToWebinar. We will work to kind of review those questions and answer them as time permits throughout the presentation today. We're excited to introduce you once again to Singular Payments. And in the closing, the remarks, we've got our Starbucks gift card promotion. And again, want to encourage everybody to submit any questions that you may have throughout the webinar. So once again, thank you everybody for your time today. And with that, we will pass the floor over to Matt Preet. Thank you, Matt.
All right, thank you, Corey. So first thing I want to talk about is everything I'm going to show you is available today. We actually launched this in February of this year. We've got a number of our user base using it today, and it's really improved workflow and performance and saved them a lot of time and effort with the features that I'm going to show you. So going into the exact features, one of the things we wanted to do when we introduced credit card processing to our system, which our clients have been asking about for years, is we wanted to make sure we were able to do it in person and for patients who are at home receiving maybe a patient statement or a bill, to be able to securely pay with a credit card without having to phone that in, saving the practices time and money to collect those payments and making it easier on the patient. So another piece that we were focused on was those patient statements, how they get to the patient. It's very time consuming and costly to print out all those statements one way or another and get them mailed out to each one of your patients potentially. So we addressed that by being able to upload it to the patient portal and have them be able to make the payment right there. The card can automatically be charged at order entry time. So when they're coming in for a visit, maybe it hasn't even occurred yet, for say a copay, invoicing time, so when I'm generating the claim, or really at any time you could take a payment from the patient with a credit card. When you do that, because obviously there's a number of ways to take credit cards. You can use a lot of other systems out there, but the advantage is of doing it through Sigmund and through Singular, it's going to be part of your normal process. So whether you take a check from them, whether you take a credit card, whether you take cash, it's all going to go into the system the same way. Even your insurance payments, it's all going to show up on the deposit slip. It's going to hit your cash accounts and AR accounts, and it eliminates the need to have to do that double entry that you may be doing now. One of the other things is you've got a better audit trail. So the authorization code from the credit card company or from Singular Payments will be stored in the system. So if you're wondering, you know, was that credit card done correctly or was it the correct amount? Excuse me. We're going to have all that information in the system, and you don't have to worry about the compliance. We use a PCI compliant hosting environment. That information is not stored in Sigmund. It's not stored in your database locally or in Sigmund's data center, where it may or may not be as secure as it needs to be. So having that in a PCI compliant hosting environment is really going to be beneficial to everybody. So an overview, again, we wanted to be able to accept the payment when the patient walks in the front desk. So when they're there, the staff will be able to see the patient's balance, if they have a copay, deductible, and when they post it, it will be automatically added to the deposit slip. Same thing for the payment on the patient portal. So when a patient logs in, they can see their patient statement. When they make a payment, or if they choose to make a payment through our portal, all you have to do is log in the way you normally would to the deposit slip screen inside of Sigmund, and you're going to see all the payments that have come in through the portal, and every night it's going to get reconciled. So here we could see the features. This is looking at the scheduling screen within Aura. So if I were to pick an appointment, so say a patient's coming in here, I could see my patient's funding source. I could see the different name on them. That my patient here is credit card. And they're coming in for this service, a 99213. When I click the billing details, I'm able to see their funding, including the copay, the full billed rate, and the expected rate. Under the appointment, I could see that they have Aetna, but in this case, they have a copay of $25. Over here, we see the total patient balance. So let's say they've got a prior balance to coming in today. I would be able to see the total amount they have outstanding, not just what's due for today's copay. I could see prior payments, so maybe there's a payment they made the last week, or if I see they haven't made a payment in a couple months and they've been coming in and they've got their balance is getting a little bit higher, that might be a good opportunity for me to talk to them about their finances. So then down here, making payments. By default, if I just click copay, it's automatically going to pull the copay from this service into this field for me to accept. I could also do total balance, which will pull the total patient balance. So obviously they could have insurance balance that's outstanding, but it's only going to pull the portion that the patient's responsible for down into this field here, allowing me to make that payment. The other option, of course, I could type other amounts. So if they only have a $20 bill on them, or they're not willing to pay the entire amount, I could charge any amount I want, including, let's say they're coming in for inpatient, they don't have any charges yet, and I want to take a $500 unapplied payment from them that they're going to put on their card to apply towards fees. I can do that as well. So obviously I could pick cash, a check, or EFT, but the new option really is this credit card. And as soon as I click that option, it's going to launch me to Singular Payment screen. It's going to launch me to this screen with the patient's name loaded. The amount that I chose for them to pay is going to be automatically filled in here. I would then type in the card number, the expiration date, and click proceed. It's then going to bring me to another screen where I can put in the patient's email if I choose, and they will get a statement automatically from Singular saying that they've made a payment for $20 in this case. So some other options we chose to roll out with the credit card processing is some improvements to the patient statements. We really wanted to be more cost effective on how people do this. So if you decide you're not going to send statements to a patient, you can just go into their self-pay account and uncheck the print statements, and they will never receive a printed statement. I can check electronic statements, and what that's going to do is automatically send it to the patient portal. So on average, it costs anywhere from 75 cents to $1 just to print and mail that statement. A lot more when you talk about the collection process of calling and getting that. It's actually upwards close to $10 to collect on an account that's overdue. So by doing the electronic statements, one, it's going to be a lot more streamlined. People are already used to getting statements at this point from their banks, from their credit cards and others. So this won't be new to a lot of your users. They'll just get an email that says you've got a new statement available. When they log in, they will be able to see that statement on the patient portal, and they would just click make payment. So they'd see the total balance, or they could change it just like we can in person. They can download the statement as a PDF. They can make the payment, and this is going to take you through the process. So the patient statement is available in the portal, because now you have a button in Sigmund that allows you to upload it. Once that statement is uploaded, the patient's going to receive an email saying you have a new statement available. They log into the patient portal, and they're able to make a payment directly, or they could call you, like they might have in the past. But the real advantage here is once they make that payment, it's automatically going to show up on your deposit slip in Sigmund. You no longer have to do double entry, where you're either typing it into a machine and then putting it into Sigmund as well, or manually posting payments in another way. So here's what it would look like. You're automatically going to get a new deposit slip every single day. Any new payments that come in, either through the front office or through the patient portal, will be automatically on your deposit slips. You'd see them. You'd be able to reconcile them against the report that you're going to get from Singular Payments, and then you would post them to the patient's accounts. A couple other things about it. For those of our clients that have more than one federally tax ID company using a single instance of Sigmund, our patient portal is aware of the company. It's aware of all the details for where that patient's balance is. So when you send out a statement, if you've got company A and company B, we know where that money is supposed to go, and we will assign it to the correct deposit slip for that patient by company. So really the benefits we're talking about here is that we're automating a lot of the process and simplifying it. You may or may not be doing a lot of these things already, but it's probably a lot more cumbersome than the process that I just walked you through. You don't have to worry about how you're dealing with credit cards. It's done in a secure way at this point. It's automatically posted in a way where you're not doing dual entry. It's going to improve your auditing controls and record keeping, the security, and Singular is going to take you through really one of the things that we think is great about it as well, which is the rates. You know, not only is it going to improve the process for you, but it should save you some money with the great flat rate system that they have. So at this point, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat, and I will try to answer them one by one. Okay, so I've got a couple here. Will this also help to eliminate unapplied cash? So that's a little bit of a different conversation. Eliminating unapplied cash, Sigmund does have some features that you may not be aware of, where we can automatically transfer unapplied payments to open balances on the patient's account. So what I would ask you to do for that one is send an email to support, and we can get back to you with some of the details that we have for how to handle that. Next question, do you need to use patient portal to use this program? You do not. If you want to accept the payments in person, you do not need to use the patient portal. The patient portal is really to be able to accept the patients payments remotely. You could have them call, if you'd rather keep it in-house or do it yourself. Obviously, you don't get quite the same benefit, but you're still able to use this feature without using the patient portal. How long has this integration been available? We put it out in February of 2017 was when we really introduced it. We started working on it last year, but we really started rolling out with clients last year. How will this work for inpatient? So inpatient is interesting. You can accept the payments directly in the system. Obviously, it is tied to scheduling, but it would be easy for us to add a payment at any time, not just through the scheduler. So if that's something that you think makes sense, which gets into this next one, provision for deductibles and co-insurance, that's really going to be some calculators, and I would love to get into that in more detail, and we can. But in this, our initial focus was taking that initial copay or co-insurance or the outstanding balance when they're coming in for an appointment. Being able to deal with inpatient, they tend to be with you, and it's a little bit more of a lengthy process, but we can get into that in more detail. Is there a porting option for charges? Example, I want to see when a card with number or a specific name was used that may or not have been entered as the wrong patient. Well, we will not be storing credit card information in Sigmund or in Aura. That would create a problem for both you and us because it's just a liability. As far as auditing, we can certainly do that. Refunds is something that I think Singular Payments can talk to us about. That is an option that they provide to not only be able to accept the payment, but to provide a refund as well. Will credit card swipe work as input rather than typing? Yes. The answer is that Singular Payments can provide you with a card reader that will work on that screen I showed you. Is there the ability for the patient to set up auto pay upon issue of the statement? There is an option to keep the card on file and to automatically set up recurring payments for either payment plans or something else automated like that. So that is an option. That's something that we'd have to have further discussions on exactly how you want to set that up, but Singular Payments does provide that functionality. What if the person responsible for finances is not the patient, parent, spouse? We absolutely handle that situation. Just like you can today in Sigmund, you can have multiple self-pay accounts. So it could be the patient, or it can be, mother, father, legal guardian, something along those lines. So you would be able to accept the payment from any funding source, just like you can today. We have a bundle package and only bill for co-pays, co-insurance, etc. Would this impact the use of this program? Let me think about that for a minute. Yeah, I don't see that as being any type of issue, being able to accept the co-pay, co-insurance through credit card. I don't believe that would change. We would just have to go through the workflow for you specifically to see if we need to add the ability to add a payment outside of scheduling, kind of like we were talking about for inpatient. So happy to have that conversation with anybody as a follow-up to this. So back to deductibles and co-insurance, can the patient or family member go online and post funds to the accounts to be used as unapplied cash without a statement being issued? The answer is yes. One of the things about our patient portal is designed to allow any of the client's contacts to be registered as users. So you could take family members, like I said, legal guardians, or anybody else who you want to have access to that patient record or be able to make payments. You can sign them up as approved users, and they would be able to make payments as well. Great question there. Can funds be applied to an account while the patient is pre-admit? Yes. that was one of the things we really wanted to focus on as well. So if during our intake process, if you register the client or the client contact, you can register them in the portal prior to them ever becoming a patient. So they could start filling out assessments and other information, but they can also make payments. So you could set them up, take something like a $500 upfront fee or whatever you decide as an organization based on your calculations, and accept that prior to them becoming a patient. You can absolutely do that. Another great question. All right, well, that was outstanding. I'm now going to pass it over to Nina, who's going to take you through a little bit more of the singular side of things.
Thank you, Matt. That was a great demonstration and excellent questions. Can we see my screen?
Yes, looks great.
Okay, great. So we should be seeing Singular Sam here on the screen. Singular Sam, along with a team of industry veterans, set out in 2009 to change the payments industry by creating the first true one flat rate program. The payments industry is riddled in a lot of complex structures and unnecessary charges that oftentimes can be eliminated, and it's hard to determine what you truly have to pay and what is a real cost for accepting credit cards as a form of payment. In fact, there's only 2 different types of programs out there. So if you've been shopping around to get started in accepting credit cards, or if you're accepting credit cards currently, you are on one of these 2 programs here. On the left-hand side, you'll see a very common tiered pricing structure. Oftentimes what happens is you're reeled in with sort of a low qualifying starting rate, and you either don't realize or it wasn't explained to you that it's also coupled by a mid-qualified charge and a non-qualified charge as well. In order for a transaction to actually qualify at that low starting rate, oftentimes it has to be swiped, and the card can't have anything special about it. What they don't share with you is that almost every card out today has some kind of reward or something attached to it that'll make sure that that card never qualifies to actually get that low qualified rate that you thought you were starting out with. That pretty much, they'll put it into a few different buckets, but at the end of the day, there's no set rules what qualifies, what partially qualifies, or what doesn't qualify at all. They can also change the grids behind the scenes and determine where to put things in which bucket. So once you have a handle on it, it can always kind of change as well, and you can see cards shift into more expensive categories. On the right-hand side of the screen here, you'll see a cost plus or interchange plus pricing model. What this means is that the actual rate for each individual card or the interchange rate is passed on to you. There's actually hundreds of them, and they all start at one particular rate, and then there's 10 to 20 different rules for each card that can change the cost of it at the end of the day. On this program, if you're currently set up on this type of structure, then you'll have a statement with pages and pages of what probably looks like hieroglyphics with several different categories that it's not an easy read. We'll just leave it at that. In addition to the interchange rate, they'll also add in their markup. Sometimes very boldly, it'll have a processing section where you'll see exactly what they've added on top of our cost for processing that transaction, along with, you know, oftentimes several miscellaneous fees that we don't have a true cost for. They may also bundle their processing markup right into the interchange rate. So it's hard to tell if that's the actual cost for that card to get it from A to B, or if there's some more packed into it. But regardless of whether you're currently on a tiered structure or on the interchange structure, Singular can conduct an analysis on your account. We'll separate the real costs of processing your transactions from all the unnecessary and miscellaneous add-ons, and then we'll provide you with one rate to cover everything that you're doing. So the neat thing there is that not only is it simple, you'll understand what you're paying each and every month, but it'll no longer matter if the card is swiped or keyed, if it's rewards or corporate. You'll have a simple, straightforward statement at the end of the day, which I'll show you a little later on here, just how easy that is. Here's an example of some of the miscellaneous and unnecessary markups you'll see. Either tiered or interchange, you'll almost always see some form of a statement fee. We're actually paying to get your bill at the end of the month. Sometimes there is a batch fee, where just to get your cards to settle at the end of the day, you're paying a small fee, usually a quarter to 50 cents, just for your transactions to get settled out and sent off for processing. In addition to that, we see all types of benefits, clubs, and extra perks that they enroll you in that you don't realize you've been enrolled in until you see the fee and you call in to opt out of it. So you have to be very, very careful that you haven't been automatically enrolled in some type of program that you're not aware of. Singular Payments also doesn't charge any just service annual fees at the end of the year. There won't be any surprises like that. Keep it very simple, one flat rate, no additional fees. Now, how are most processors getting away with this, you might ask? Oftentimes, in the summary of the statement, in fact, I'll show you here what one of our statements look like. We just have the one flat rate there, but on the tiered structure, you may just see the qualified rate in the plan summary here. And on the following pages, you'll see additional costs and additional fees. And it's really important that you calculate your overall effective rate at the end of the day. And this can be done simply by taking your total fees that you paid, dividing them by your total sales to find out what your overall effective rate is at the end of the month with all things combined. As far as getting set up, there's really 4 simple steps. If you're already accepting credit cards, we have you submit your last 2 to 3 months of processing statements. It should give us a quarter snapshot of the type of cards that your clients are paying with. We'll run them through our flat rate calculator, which will kick back the one magic number to cover everything. We'll provide you with a guaranteed savings proposal, showing you side by side, here's what you paid at the end of the day. Here's what it should have been had you been on a flat rate program, along with the savings you'll experience. We have a quick application, which we'll do with you over the phone. We ask you about 10 to 12 questions and submit it for an electronic signature. So you simply click your email, type in your name, and the process will get started to generate a new merchant account for you. Once we have the merchant account number, we'll provide it to Sigmund to get everything synced up. Now, in addition to simplifying everything, creating some savings by eliminating things that you don't actually have to pay, we'll also provide a $10 Starbucks gift card with anyone who submits their statements for an analysis. Why $10, you ask? Well, because that's how much 1 cup of coffee costs at Starbucks. We have a landing page here, the go.singularpayments.com/Sigmund-software, which you can find more information. There's also a video with a live demo of Mr. Preet himself running through the software and running through the transaction process, where you can also upload statements there. They will come to us directly. I might personally work on the numbers for you, so you get to chat with me again. And switching to a flat rate is entirely risk-free. There's no setup fees, there's no application fees, there's no cost for us to send you a card reader so that you can swipe the cards, and our savings is, in fact, guaranteed. So I guess I'll open it up here for any questions as it pertains to the flat rate and credit card processing. Matt, are you seeing any chat questions on your side?
I am. I'm going to read them for you.
Great.
How many months of statements do you need?
Well, 3 months, as I mentioned before, would give us sort of a quarter snapshot, but the more data we have, the more accurate we can be and aggressive we can be with the one magic number to cover everything.
Perfect. Are we able to run check-ins on the system?
Check-ins?
So
or
I'm
checking, like ACH
it
checks?
says check-ins. So I'm thinking if you're wondering, like, for patients coming in to be seen, the answer is yes. You're able to take a credit card from them at that point. And then the next question here is, what's an average flat rate in our industry?
Well, the flat rate is customized for each individual business. So what we do is let the numbers do the talking, basically. We're not, pulling a number out of the sky. We're actually punching the exact card types into a flat rate calculator. So in an environment where a lot of your patients or clients are using, regular consumer cards, debit cards, cards that have, minimal rewards, that sort of thing, we could see flat rates, between 1.5% and 2.5%. I have some as low as, in the 1.5% range. In the event that people are using corporate cards or business cards, and there's a lot of card not present transactions, we could see closer to the 2.5%, between 2.5% and 3% range, if I had to put it into a box.
Okay. How long is my flat rate good for?
Excellent question. It is definitely guaranteed for 1 full year. Visa and MasterCard get together every April and every October, as if they haven't made enough money already, and they review a few things. Sometimes they lower rates, and sometimes they increase rates. But when they do, it's very minimal, and oftentimes they offset each other. But the purpose in, going that deep is that in the event that Visa or MasterCard did impose an increase that was significant, then after that 1 year mark, then we may have to revisit the rate. However, it's only happened one time in Singular Payments history, and the increase was 0.03% or 3 basis points, if that helps. I'm not sure that any other processing company could tell you exactly what their increase was, that there was one, and when it happened. So oftentimes you'll see increases every April and every October when something changes with the bank card associations.
Okay. For our inpatients, we at times will run the credit card as a check-in because we are uncertain the exact number of days the patient will be in detox rehab, and then we process as a check-out once that is determined. So the amount is determined for the corrected amount. Is this possible in this system? So I guess the question would be, can we run the same patient's credit card at check-in, and then when they leave, to either refund them money or to charge them the outstanding balance for what we didn't collect ahead of time? And the answer is, from a Sigmund perspective, yes, you would be able to charge multiple times, once on check-in and once on, again, on check-out. Nina, can you talk about refunds at all?
We will set each client up with a portal where they can actually log in, or more of a dashboard rather, where they can log in with a username and password and run reports, where they can access their month-end merchant statements, and they can also track down transactions and issue refunds directly from the initial sale.
Okay.
All right, this is Corey. Thank you, everybody. Matt, thank you. Nina, thank you so much for today's presentation. Everybody who's joined will be distributing the presentation out on the customer portal. And I encourage everybody to please, as I said in the beginning, please feel free to reach out to Nina and the team at Singular Payments. Certainly, if you have additional questions or just want to receive some more information, again, it's a great conversation to have. And again, I just want to thank Nina, Danielle, our friends at Singular, and Matt for a great presentation. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.